Hi there, this is Justin Krane, certified financial planner professional and founder of Krane Financial Solutions. Welcome to Money You Got This. So how can you really live? How? By uniting your business money, your personal money with your life and your business. Word up.
Krane Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only, and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products.
Hey everyone, welcome to Money You Got This. This show is brought to you by Krane Financial Solutions. I'm Justin Krane. I'm a certified financial planner professional. We offer investment management services and financial planning for entrepreneurs. I'm also the author of this book, Money You Got This. It's not as good as the book that I'm about to talk about with my guest, which is all about burgers. So don't go anywhere, people. I'm psyched you're listening to the show. I want to give you this free report, 3 things multimillionaires do to grow their wealth. Just go to coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. That's coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. Thanks. All right, here's the deal. I've got someone here who started like 92 businesses. He's been on the cover of every magazine known to man and womankind and is freaking awesome. That's the casual intro. The real intro is to have Alane Boyd on our show. Welcome, Alane.
Thank you so much, Justin. I am so glad that introduction was recorded because I want to share that with everyone.
That's just part 1. Part 2, president of Arvo, serial entrepreneur, has a kid that's running a business, working with her husband, passion, growth, SaaS, author, top leader, 40 under 40, really good at grilling. I bet you are.
I am.
South by Southwest. She's into, is it rucking?
Rucking, yeah.
She's into rucking. Like, what is rucking? Let's just start with that.
Oh,
Alane,
my gosh.
what is rucking all about?
It's like the most minimal thing. It's just carrying weight. So I have a rucksack that I just put a 30-pound weight in it and you walk with it or do exercises. And it's just I love walking, and this adds extra burn and calorie exhaustion to it.
Ooh. Now, are you channeling that in like when you're mentoring other people and you're helping founders and you're working, like, do you have this sack on your back while you're like consulting?
No, not literally. I don't, but
You don't. Okay.
I do. I try to, even with some meetings, maybe not always in consulting meetings, but internal meetings, let's go for a walk and have this discussion. We don't always have to be sitting down.
I love it. Now, there is a question from the audience. Everyone wants to know if that's a real plant behind you.
It is. Yes.
Hey guys, we have a guest here. It's a real plant. It's not fake. This is real.
Real.
All right,
very
cool.
real. We've propagated it into multiple other plants as well.
I love it. I love it. All right. So, I mean, I have like 4 million questions. I'm going to just go rapid fire.
Okay.
You graduated, I think, University of San Diego with your master's. You went to Louisiana State before that. You worked for one company and you were vice president, and then you kind of started to run it. Is this Go Fanbase?
Yeah, that was. So yeah, the guy that owned the company, Micah Johnson, he was running the company. I wanted to get out of the company I was running. I was ready for something different. And one day just told him, hey, I think there's a better way to run the company. I've got these ideas. And also I'm really burnt out working with the team you hired. So I think we need to change everything. And he said, done. We're going to start over. And we started it over as co-founders.
Wow. Now, who is Micah?
Well, he's also my husband now. He was so impressed with me. He said, I couldn't just be your co-founder in business, that I had to be our partner in life too. So we later got married. And
I love that.
we do some businesses together and then some not, just depending on where our passions are and what interests us.
I love that. I love that. So with Micah comes Fletcher, and he's about 7. Is that right?
Yes.
He's 7 and he's running his own business.
He is, since he was 5.
Okay, I got to hear more. Like, what's going on here?
Well, so he does dog treats. He dehydrates cow livers and pig livers. He's partnered with a couple of local farmers here. And he does the whole process except for cutting them. I do that part, and we dehydrate them. He packages them up and sells them on his website and at a local market here.
I could let's just talk about that for about 4 years. Let's talk about Fletcher. So
I could.
I know you can. I think that because a lot of us listening are parents too. I've got 3 kids there. 2 of them are out of the house. 1 of them is still here. But I think as parents, we model for our kids, and they watch what we do and not always what we say, and listen to what we say. So I'm just curious if he watched you and Micah kind of do your thing from a very young age and kind of picked up on it, and then you encouraged him. You must have been attuned to him and gave him like the belief that he can actually do something on his own.
I think that what you just said is the key to it all, that he can give him the tools and he can do it. And I want him to learn that, to keep putting himself out there, to try new things and things that he really enjoys. Maybe he can make some money at it. And I mean, the turn of him starting his own business really was at its core because he's a bit spoiled. You know, we've got a nice life.
Yeah.
And he got a Switch gift card from Santa, and he wanted the game that he wanted cost like $40 more than what his gift card was for. And that was just really triggered me. And I'm like, you got all of this just now for Christmas and from Santa. You need to earn the $40. And I'm a bit polarizing on some of my beliefs because I don't believe in doing chores for money. Like that's just part of life. Like you got to pick up after yourself. You got to clean up your mess in the kitchen. And so I said, start coming up with ideas that you can make money. And we would make these dehydrated dog treats for our dogs. And he had the idea, well, you know, what if I sold these? And, you know, at 5, he didn't have everything he needed to know. And so I'm like, you know what, I think you could do that. And so he sits in my lap and designs in Canva his labels and everything. And it's been a great learning tool. He has to fill out his applications for the state of Tennessee Department of Ag.
This is amazing. Like, I mean, I Googled a little bit, and obviously I know about this because I did some research, but I need to have your son on the show for like 15 minutes and just like, let's get right in here. Like, I think that's so cool. I'm trying to get my teens to do some of this kind of stuff, and they're watching me and I'm modeling, but I think this is amazing that you're doing that. So kudos to you. Great work.
Thank you. It's funny. He'll say, I think I want to hire somebody. I could really use a team. I'm like, that sounds great. Go for it.
That's amazing. That's so cool. So I want to fast forward to what you're doing now with Arvo. It's called Arvo Answers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm in the fray with this stuff. Like, I have employees, I got SOPs, standard operating procedures, but I don't have it. I know it, but I don't. Like, we have some systems, and I'd say a lot of the entrepreneurs that are listening, they have businesses, they have employees, they have sales and profits, but they've hit this glass ceiling where their biggest challenge is actually dealing with people. I don't really think it's a unique selling proposition. I think it's dealing with their staff and how to leverage that. And that's where you come in with these cool tools. I'm like, wow, this is like plug and play. Like, I could have a glass of wine and screw around with these tools that you have and like have fun with it. So can you talk about like the problem that we have when we're trying to get stuff done, and how we're trying to create systems and we want to delegate, but we get stuck and nothing that gets done. And we're in these 3-hour Zoom meetings. We're like, what are we supposed to do? Enter Arvo.
Yes. So, you know, Arvo, we created it because what we saw so often is, how do you go from everything's in my head and I can go in and I can execute to now I have a team and nobody does it as good as me. Nobody knows how to do it. And then make it look like something other than just a text document. Because, you know, the first thing you do is like, okay, well, I've got to write down my process, and you start typing. Well, man, that's no millennial or Gen Z especially wants to look at that, and really none of the other age groups either. But so we wanted to make something where it was interesting to look at, more digitally appealing, but for the person creating it, it's super easy. Like, you don't have to figure it out. You just go and click buttons and start typing.
So is this for processes and workflows where you can mark it as it's done, or is it just things you need to do?
It's more how to do the jobs to be done. So as an
Okay.
owner or a manager, how do you want, if somebody needs to know how to do something,
Yeah.
you create a document on how to do that.
Yeah.
And then also upskilling, a big thing now with employees is they want to be invested in. Where is their growth with you in the company?
Mhm.
Or else that's where they want to leave. They want to continue growing.
Yeah.
And so upskilling is a big factor too, that our customers use Arvo is let's continue nurturing our employees, keep teaching them things. If they want to become a manager, what does their path look like to being a manager? What courses can they build and do within the platform? And then the other side of Arvo that our customers started doing and wasn't even our idea is now sales teams can quickly create a case study in a few minutes that looks professional, beautiful, and they send off that link to a customer.
Wow, that's super cool. So I'm now in the overwhelmed category, listening to all of that.
Let's back up. Sorry.
Well, no, I get it all. But like, okay, so I'm running a business. I have a full day. I've got clients and stuff going on, and I have to deal with my employees. And my wife is calling me saying like, hey, babe, I'm on my way home. What are we having for dinner? And like, I'm dehydrated, like that, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to do this stuff, but I don't have enough time in the day. And I know I can make time, but part of me is like, this is really cool, but I need help. I need someone to do this with me or for me. Or do you do that? Or is it more like, hey, Justin, here are the tools. You have to build this and we'll give you some simple support.
Yeah, if you just go to askarvo.com, you can subscribe to the platform, pay the monthly fee, and build whatever you want yourself. Now, we do provide a service, and we call that Arvo Plus, where if a company says, hey, I don't have the resources to build things, it's super important to me, then we will build them for the customer.
Got it.
As a service.
Okay. And then can they also be used for sales presentations, actually?
Yes. It's incredible, the use cases for it. Sales and like today I did a demo of Arvo to somebody, and I sent a follow-up in Arvo. So it had like all the things that they were super interested in. I dropped in a video of a couple of things that we had talked about so you could share with his team. And then my Calendly link for scheduling also can be dropped into Arvo. And you've got everything for him to send that to his team then.
Can you white label your branding on it?
Not yet, but we do have that in the roadmap to be able to white label it.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. Okay, so let's also talk about, the show is Money You Got This, Money, Life, and Business. So you were, before we get into Burger Fit, was Burger Fit after Go Fanbase and then you did Arvo? Is that the chain?
Yeah, so Go Fanbase, we sold that company in 2018 and kind of retired, and we thought we were gonna just farm and do passion projects, and Burger Fit had been on my mind for a while. And then I turned it into not a passion project, into a company. And
let's talk about like the business model, because I think I love talking about that. And I know that Arvo's SaaS and Burger Fit's more of a product. Maybe it is a SaaS. I don't think it is a SaaS, but there's the business model is so important. Like, I'm a financial advisor. I'm looking at my clients' personal money and business money. And one of the biggest drivers of wealth is the profits and cash that a business generates. And I'm curious, I want to hear from you. Like, did you choose, I'll say software as a service for people that don't know SaaS. Did you choose that business model because you felt like Burger Fit wasn't an annuity? It was more one-offs, so to speak, and you really wanted a little bit of recurring revenue. Did you intentionally think that way, or did it just kind of become that?
It more became that. Burger Fit is a nice little cushy, it brings in revenue, it's all automated. And so that one is what it is. And what happened, so when we sold our company, Go Fanbase, and my husband and I were so severely burnt out. I started I started pursuing Burger Fit a little bit, but him and I also owned BGBO Co. And BGBO stands for Biggest Goal, Biggest Obstacle. And really, we started it because people were wanting to hire us as consultants, and we just needed somewhere to funnel money through.
Yeah.
And so we started that company. And then through COVID, we boomed. I mean, you're talking about two consultants that Micah and myself being the two, where we scaled remote teams across the world. And now everybody in the world was trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And so we really started growing. And my husband was like, I think we've got to start taking this business seriously. It's not just our, we're not retired anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. Let's do this. And through that consulting is where we got inspired to build Arvo. And it really did go back to GoFanbase. We had the same model. We had a services side company, and we built a SaaS product. And that SaaS product is so nice because it's generating monthly recurring revenue. But also when you go to sell the company, you're looking at a 7x versus maybe a 1.5. If you're really lucky, a 2x. So that's where we always play in that SaaS field in our companies. We've actually built 2 and sold them now.
I love it. I mean, most of my business is recurring revenue, so it's like you're preaching the choir. One distinction that I didn't get, I couldn't put it together, was so you had GoFanbase and then you did BGBO. What are the differences between those two companies? What was the business there? What were the two things that you were doing? I hear BGBO, but talk to us about GoFanbase.
Yeah, GoFanbase was completely different. We started off doing social media management and reputation management before social media was even the term. It was social. Micah called it social arena marketing because the term hadn't been coined yet. So we were doing that for businesses, and we got a contract with this car dealership group. And we were in San Diego, and we ended up within 6 months getting the entire auto group.
Nice.
And again, just then we started getting into the OEMs like BMW and Mercedes and things. And we saw opportunity for another SaaS play and built a software that got the car dealerships 5-star reviews from their customers. So, completely different business. But what happened during that time that we learned wasn't a natural skill for owners is that we did a merger in between there before we sold the company. And we realized we ran our company as a very well-oiled machine, operations to a T, hired only remote workers. We did have offices, but it was all over. Where when we did the merger, the other company was the wild, wild west. And so we put in our systems and our processes. We decreased the employees by 20% and increased the lifetime value of our clients by several $1,000s per month. And so Micah and I learned wow, this isn't something every company needs. And that's how, after we sold, we started transitioning more into operation. He's more operations technology. I'm more sales and communications.
Wow. What a team. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh God, I had a question about, let's just talk about the burnout. Where were you burnt out? Were you burnt out in the sales part of selling the company or just building this whole thing? What caused the burnout?
Everything. I learned so much about what not to do in the 12 years we had that company.
Tell us a few things that you learned that either you could have done better or in hindsight or whatever.
Yeah. Number one, I shouldn't have been the hero. I was the person, you come to me and I will fix your problems team. And I did all the time. And then I realized,
Alane Boyd is here.
Yes, exactly. And I didn't need to be the hero, and finally started learning at the very end that I didn't need to do that. And it was just killing me. The stress was so high. The other thing, I had the other thing on the tip of my tongue. Well, I can't remember now, but that would be
burnout. You were burnt out for a long time.
To get out of my own way, kind of in the same sense, but a different perspective, is those large contracts that we had, I was the holder of those. And for me to trust somebody else to come in, I waited so long. Everything was in my head for that part. And it took about a year for me to, I hired an executive assistant that eventually took over, but she sat with me in meetings and documented everything so that she knew how to handle those clients without me.
Got it. Amazing. And when you sold, what did you do? Like, did you guys take a couple months off? Like, what did you guys do?
Yeah, well, we traveled for a month straight. We hired a house sitter for our dogs for the month and traveled around. And we traveled, we saw family that we hadn't seen in a while. When we sold, we had to stay on for 18 months. And that part also was part of being burnt out. And next time I sell, I'm not committing to that time frame again. So, I just rested. I went for walks. I have a lady that I'm good friends with, and her and I would meet at the lake and do 3 miles around the lake together. And I was pushing my son in his stroller, and I wasn't into rucking then. I didn't know about it. I wish I had, but I just kind of relaxed. I started reading again. I had stopped reading in those 18 months because I was so overwhelmed with life. So I just started picking up on the things that I enjoy.
I love it. I love it. Well, we did talk about Burger Fit. People are probably like, what's that? So you're taking, is it meat and veggies and just putting them together?
Yep.
Is it vegan? Is it just ground meat or turkey or what, everything?
Yeah,
or what?
it's whatever ground meat you want to use. So ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, and mixed with vegetables to help actually, it was my dad and my brother that gave me the inspiration, because they are the pickiest eaters that I know. But as I was doing customer discovery, I realized people don't really care if their husbands or relatives don't eat healthy, but they care that their kids eat healthy.
Yes.
So healthy moms ended up being my target market.
And so I don't think you sell the actual ingredients, right? You just give the recipe and you have a book and there's some other things, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Burger Fit has been a roller coaster, because I did launch originally as a cookbook, and I've written a couple other books around Burger Fit too. And I was meeting with co-packers to manufacture the burgers so I could sell them in grocery stores. That is the number one thing people ask when they eat the burgers, is where can I buy these? And I'm like, but I was launching that through COVID.
Okay.
And it just got to be so much. It was so hard. With the supply chain was hard, but more than that, the employees that worked at the co-packers and at distribution facilities, they were incredibly burnt out. The stress for them with their own supply chain was so high, and employee turnover was so much. Like, I would finally be getting going with one, and then their entire exec team would quit.
That's got to be frustrating.
So I just actually, it was just Easter of this year. I just had this huge meeting in Birmingham, Alabama. It went fantastic. A week later, their entire exec team got fired. And I was like, you know what? I think this is the universe saying, just stick with your books.
Yeah. I was just about to ask you, like, do you believe in that kind of stuff? Or it's like, okay, maybe something's telling me something, or,
I don't know, because you hear, I love how I built this podcast too. And, I think it's how much you have to put towards it. I gave up at that point where these other food founders maybe just kept on going, but we had Arvo launched at that time. And I love SaaS, and I was so proud of what we built with Arvo that I said, this isn't the time for me with Burger Fit, but this is the time for me with Arvo. So I'm going to focus on that.
Amazing. All right. I have a bunch of interesting questions. I want people to get to know you, including me.
Okay.
What's your morning routine? Like, what are you doing? Are you having coffee? Are you like having, burgers? Like, what are you doing in the morning?
I wake up before everybody else. I do yoga and stretching. Then I usually make tea during then, because I wait for my husband, and him and I, either one of us will make coffee.
Okay.
We have 3 dogs and chickens. So I feed the dogs, let the chickens out, and send my son off to school. My husband takes him off to school. And then I start getting organized for my work day after they leave the house.
And when you start your work day, what's it like? Do you have like a list of things you need to do, strategic stuff? Are you checking email? Like, what's your chain there?
Yep. I usually check my email first, check LinkedIn, And then I will start going through ClickUp. So we use ClickUp as our task management system for our entire company. And I start catching up in there because some of our employees will still continuing to work depending on what time zone they're in.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice way for me to catch up and also get a few things done before they get started.
So are your employees? Are they independent contractors? Is it a little bit of both?
We have a little bit of both, depending on where they are in the United States. And then we have some employees like in Mexico, they're independent contractors.
Got it. So I want to go back to this remote hybrid workforce. I mean, that's really what's going on now. And it seems like what you've built caters to that because it's a plug and play and can be used across different locations, and everyone can incorporate that into their daily tasks. Just talk about, did you think about that, or was it like, how did you come up with this? It's such an interesting idea.
Okay, so we came up with it, and yes, that is the core of because that's what we were doing with consulting is you've got remote and hybrid teams. How do you get through your workday without people slacking you all day saying, hey, can you jump on a Zoom with me? Hey, I've got a question. And a lot of our clients, they were feeling that pressure. And what we were using the other tools available out there. And Google Docs is a big one. But as your team grows, you outgrow Google Docs for documentation. For your company. And then I thought about, Mike and I were thinking about too, like nobody really knows how to format a Google Doc. You just get this like whole mess of things.
It's a mishmash.
Yes, a mishmash, and it irritates me when I train on how to format a Google Doc. And anyway, he was like, Alane, I got this idea. What if we build a platform that nobody knows that has to know how to format? It formats it for you. And I'm like, talk to me. I'm in. And so we just started exploring what that would look like. We built an MVP, had our internal team play around with it. And we couldn't even onboard any clients yet. And we just started we call them playbooks, the documents that we build. And so kind of as a test is we started building these documents in Arvo for our clients, and then just sending them to them and saying, hey, take a look at this. What do you think? And the feedback we were getting was like, wow, what did you build this in? I want to build stuff in there too. And so we're like, all right, we're on to something. And so we continued for another 3 months perfecting that MVP before we even started onboarding customers.
I think that's important for everyone to learn, that you looked at the empirical data and tested it and used it with people that were already your clients to get the feedback, and then either tweaked it or just kept it the same. That's really important. That's awesome. Well done.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the fact that you applied to the Goldman Sachs small business thing and you got shut down twice, and you went back again. You're like, you need to accept me. Let's talk about Hurricane Alane for a minute.
Yes. They say they have these requirements, and it's kind of like, do they really mean these requirements? I always want to push the limits. And at that time, I'd already sold my company. And so BGBO was only a few months old. And so I went through the process. They sent me a note a couple of months later that said, hey, you meet all these requirements, but you have to be at least 2 years old. And I'm like, okay, fine. And so actually they reached out to me at the beginning of 2021. And they reached out to me and they said, hey, you had met all the criteria except for the 2-year mark. We put your application on hold. Would you reapply? Sure. So I did. And I hadn't forgotten about it, but it wasn't, on the top of my radar. So that's how, And I don't really take no for an answer on a lot of things. Like maybe it was timing, or maybe it was how I did things. And on that one, we just weren't old enough.
Got it. All right. This is another random one. Look, we have someone who lives in Nashville, right? You live in Nashville?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nashville for a minute. Like, what do we need to do in Nashville? What's cool? Like, I've been there a few times to speak or whatever, but if I'm going back to Nashville, what do I need to do?
I love going to Cheekwood. It's a botanical garden. It's huge. Okay. I take my son there. There's a little children's setup that he has fun. They always have different activities. It's beautiful. They do different seasonal things. That's one of my favorites. I really don't go down Broadway with all the
Oh,
bars
forget
and
it.
stuff. It is so packed.
Yeah. Forget it.
Traffic in Nashville is horrible, as
Mhm.
any big city is.
Mhm.
But it's a lot of fun and has just the like incredible people that are trying to do cool things.
Mhm.
And in all different industries, even in software. We've got a great little hub of software creators out there. And then of course music is always fun.
Yeah.
There's always somebody connected to somebody in the music scene.
Yeah. So one of the things I saw on, I think your Instagram handle was build what people want to buy.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about that and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, so that was a lesson that I learned in my first software. So before we built the automotive app to get dealerships 5-star reviews, our first one was a contest app where you would go and put your first name, last name, email address, and enter a contest online.
Mhm.
And we started going, we were head to head against our competitor with these huge companies. And we would lose every time. And the reason we would lose is we did not have the Facebook like functionality that when they entered the contest, they automatically liked the Facebook page. And we're going, why would you want that? You're getting all these email databases, all you're getting is a Facebook like. And people were like, because we want Facebook likes.
I know.
And so,
Sure do.
we waited too long on that to actually build what people wanted to buy. We kept going down our path. And, I do a lot of mentorship with any product. It doesn't even need to be a SaaS product. You can't be so far along in your product that you can't listen to what people want. Because once you get your product out there, it takes longer to make changes.
Yeah.
You might miss your traction. Like once we miss these big contracts, there's only so many large radio groups out there. Most of them had already gone with these bigger, or our competitor. They weren't looking to make another change. And so we weren't agile enough back then, and we waited too long to build what people want to buy.
Listen to your customers, watch what they do. Another thing I look at, Alane, is Amazon reviews and comments of other products or similar things. And I look at the copy and I look at the messaging of like, why are they doing these things and what's the reason behind it?
Yeah, that's
so anyways,
so smart.
the show's about life, money, and business. I got to ask, what has been your best investment?
Learning. I mean, listen to podcasts and reading, and that's an investment in me. It has broadened my perspective on things. It's why I made my son start his own business. And it's just really shaped how I've made it in life. And I can't complain. It's been a great life. I've had the best life.
Wow.
And learning and knowledge and
21,
growing.
Right? You're
I'm just 21.
Yeah. How young you are. What do you give us a couple books you've read or you're reading that you like?
Oh man. I am reading right now 438 Days, and it's about a guy lost at sea for over a year and how he survived. And it's an incredible story.
Wow.
Gosh, I hate these questions because I'm not good on the spot at remembering.
Fine. We'll go with that one.
Okay.
Now tell us where we can go to learn more about you and Arvo and what you're up to.
Well, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm active on there. And I'd love to do a call and just I love meeting people and networking. So LinkedIn, Alane Boyd's my name.
Alane Boyd, Boyd.
Yeah.
Alane, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to have you.
Oh, Justin, this is wonderful. Thank you.
Have a question? Want to get in touch with us? Need some help and advice with your finances? Just go to coolmoneyshow.com and reach out to us. That's coolmoneyshow.com.
Krane Financial Solutions is an SEC registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products. No investment decision should be made based solely on any information provided herein. We do not provide legal, accounting, or tax services. We recommend that all investors seek out the services of competent professionals in any of the aforementioned areas. Certain information provided has been obtained from third-party sources that we believe reliable. However, it's not been independently verified and is not guaranteed.